Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Critical Commentary. I'm Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about the new HBO Max series, Generation. Honestly, when I was thinking about how I was going to formulate this video, I found myself just having way too much to say and not enough of a structure. So I'm kind of going to break this video down in a few different aspects, things that I thought were really significant. Because honestly, I feel like it's not the plot that is what's significant about this show. It's more about what it means in the essence of the genre or subgenre of teen dramedies, and also just kind of how our perception of teenagers has evolved. Zelda and Daniel Barnes' show run Generation, which is a one season at the moment show that is split into two parts. I will say they did not advertise that this show was going to be split into two parts until it kind of happened. I was like logging in, and next thing I know, boom, part two's open. So I thought I'd finished the show. I thought it was over, and nope, there was more. What's great about this surprise part two is that part one is focused on more so introducing us to the ensemble, getting us to know all of the different characters, their insecurities, their goals, their motives. And then part two is a lot more focused on an interactive character study in that they are more analyzed by how they interact with each other and their relationships with each other than they are so much as individual characters. What makes Generation a pretty amazing show is not its focus on plot. It is pretty much, straightforward. A show about Gen Z teenagers living in Orange County, California, and them kind of in this point in their lives where they're starting to discover who they are, their sexuality, their gender identity, their overall self-concept. But that's not what makes the show great. I mean, it does, but that's not all. That's not what paves the genre, specifically speaking. It is the fact that it walks a really good fine line on this, spectrum of how teen dramedies are both made and received. On one end, we've got shows like Degrassi and Skins, which depict everyday life. They depict teens making decisions, both good and not, and discovering who they are in the process. And you could even add sex education to that list. And then on the other side, and I don't mean that it's necessarily on another side, it's more just that HBO has a pretty good filmography so far of the same genre-styled series, and that's with shows like Girls and, of course, Euphoria. I want to talk more specifically about Euphoria and its influence on Generation as both the genre and network predecessor to Generation, because you can see that it is like night and day. Euphoria, while I loved it, where it started to falter was that it sensationalized these teenagers. It sensationalizes sexual assault and domestic abuse and addiction, and it almost glamorizes it. And I remember being in the car one day with one of my friends, and they asked me who was my favorite character in the show. And it's kind of hard to pick a favorite character in that show because there's just so many like kind of problematic aspects about each one that it's hard to say, oh, I completely relate to this person and I want to look up to this person, because they're so deeply flawed, but in a way that romanticizes who they are as people. And Generation doesn't do that. Generation marries both making this beautiful and well composed and soundtracked show with a little bit less focus on them being romanticized and more of them being portrayed honestly. And I think that it may not be a show for everyone. If you want something a little bit more flashy like Euphoria, then this may not be for you because it's more subdued. But I do think you'll get a lot more out of it because there's a lot more reality in it, you know? A big thing that I loved about the show is its diversity. And in not just one way, actually. I don't want to keep comparing this show to Euphoria because I feel like at the end of the day, Generation should stand on its own, so I won't. But I will compare it to Girls. And the reason why I want to make that comparison is because Lena Dunham, who wrote, produced, and starred in Girls, is an executive producer on the show. And Girls is a good show, but one of the biggest criticisms that it has faced, and I think even still today is kind of healing from, is that it is a depiction of waspy, rich white women living in apartments that they can't afford or doing things that are just not realistic. And it almost seems like, and I don't know how much Lena Dunham was actually like an active participant in the creation of Generation, but I can say that you can see that how they diversify the cast, that there must have been a learning curve. It's not only just diverse in race and ethnicity. It's also diverse in religion. It's diverse in class. I guess you could say it's not totally diverse in socioeconomic status, but I do think that it's a little bit more balanced out, and you can believe that these are a group of people that actually want to hang out with each other despite the fact that they might be coming from different backgrounds. What I also thought was great was that, this show is, I guess you could say, specifically an LGBTQIA story. But it's great because you get to see how fluid sexuality really is in the show. The season finale even has a character coming out as ace. And so there's a lot going on. She's still a lesbian, but she's ace. And there's transgender characters who aren't even outed. There was a character that I had no idea was trans until it got later introduced in part 2. The show doesn't pander. It didn't throw things in my face. It really focused on showing and not telling, and I think that's what makes this show great as an LGBTQ tale, because it's not focused on their sexualities being their sole identities. We get to grow with these characters from part 1 into part 2, and we see how, sexuality does not make things more complicated. It doesn't make anything different. It honestly is still a human experience that anyone can honestly just put themselves into. And if not 100%, at least 95% relate to. Even though I know that this is an ensemble series, I do have to make some shout outs in regards to just phenomenal performances. One of those being Justice Smith's Chester, who is the heart of the friend group and somewhat the mean girl leader of the friend group. There's just so much more there than meets the eye, and Justice really brought that out in Chester. And I just found myself really empathizing with his character and some of his insecurities and his fears, and how he would take them and mask them as this overconfident flamboyance. Another standout that I want to highlight is Martha Plimpton's Martha. And Martha plays the mother to twins Naomi and Nathan, who are a part of this friend group. I don't think I've ever seen an Orange County mom like that I both hated and loved at the same time. One of the biggest arcs that she goes on is her openness and acceptance to Nathan's bisexuality. I couldn't say that I would want a mom like Megan, but I also can understand how coming out can be extremely difficult because of one of those mothers. You know, it's a mother that isn't kicking you out. It's not a mother that's beating you, disowning you, but it's a mother who sees your choices and is terrified of you living your authentic self and using helicopter suffocation and manipulation as a way to hold you in place. And Martha Plimpton really was able to give us that range. She was able to express that in a way that made it so much more honest to see. I feel with parents and LGBTQ stories, they're either super, super for it or they're super, super not. And you don't really get to see that in between. And I think that coming out stories are a lot more in that gray than we realize. And I think that she portrayed that character super well. So what did you think about Generation Season 1? Did you like it? Are you hoping that it'll get greenlit for a Season 2? Let me know now in the comments down below so we can talk about it. Honestly, I really enjoyed the show. I hope that it does get greenlit. I would love to see it again. But honestly, even if it doesn't, I will point out this is like kind of irrelevant. It happened to do its season finale the same night as the new HBO Gossip Girls series premiere. And I would totally love to talk about that. So if you want me to do I don't think I want to do an episode by episode breakdown, but I would love to do a, series finale kind of like this video. So if you want me to do something on Gossip Girls season 1, please let me know also down in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at CriticalCom with 2M's TV. And make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss a video here on Critical Commentary. Bye, guys.